this video, you'll be watching an excerpt from our Civil 3D intro class. The topic we'll be covering is alignments. Alignments are covered on page 127. They are a construction baseline, such as center line of a road. Why do we use them? They are the parent objects for profiles, sections, and corridors, and they also designate station values. So if you look down here, this green line is the alignment, and then it has these numbers. Every 50 feet has just a tick mark, but every 100 feet, it has this station value. So this is 1 plus 0, 0 means 100, 2 plus 0, 0 means 200, 3 plus 0, 0 means 300, etc. So it helps us build things by following those measurements. How do we create them? On the Home tab of the ribbon, Create Design panel, there is an Alignment button. So what we'll do is first we'll learn how to create alignments from objects. After that, we'll come back to the PowerPoint and we'll talk about creating alignments from scratch. We'll have to understand what these terms mean when we create alignments from scratch. Okay, so we're in the alignment drawing. I'll close the other one here. And in this alignment drawing, we need to X-reference our base file. So we can type XR, enter. In the XREF window, use the button at the top left to attach DWG. And from that project example folder, we're using the base file. So here, we're going to, again, use overlay, relative path, and make sure nothing is checkmarked. If you have something checkmarked, your command line is going to ask you for either a scale, an insertion point, or a rotation angle. So just do not check them. Click OK. And so that should pop up in the correct location. And then there's one thing I wanted to mention about data shortcuts. So I mentioned that we need to set the working folder and the project folder. After that, the shortcut folder automatically shows up. Inside of that, we have all the different Civil 3D categories. In the surface folder, this is my eTopo data shortcut. So that's an XML file. It's something that you never really need to open, but if you did open it, the only thing that really matters is this path. So this is the path to the original existing topo drawing, and this is the name of that surface, right? So the reason I'm showing this to you is once you create a data shortcut, do not rename the surface, do not rename the file, do not move the file. That would mess up this path. And that's the only reason I wanted to point that out. So this is code that links up your original file to your data shortcut. Okay, so back in here, we have our project base file, just 2D line work. We have our 3D surface. We're only showing the border right now. And this long street that goes north to south, that is going to be called Main Street. The shorter one that goes east to west, that one is going to be called Court Street. And so we're going to be creating a corridor that represents this road. So to start that off, our first step is to create an alignment. The alignment defines the horizontal geometry of the road. So the center line of Main Street and the center line of Court Street will become the alignments. On the Home tab of the ribbon, in this Create Design panel, we have the Alignment button. When you click the drop down, you'll see there's a bunch of options here. We are going to start with creating alignment from objects. So if you already have polyline that is the center line of your road, you can just select it and turn it into an alignment. So I'm going to click Create Alignment from Objects. in the command line, it says to select the object or pick from an XREF. This is an XREF. So I want to choose XREF at the command line. And then I'm going to zoom in and select the center line of Main Street. Enter. Once you hit enter, somewhere along the center line, you're going to see this arrow. The arrow is pointing in the direction of increasing station value. So if it's pointing north, that means this end is going to be 0, and then the north end is going to be the higher station value. So that's the correct direction. If for some reason it's pointing the wrong direction, at the command line, you have an option to reverse. Okay, so it should be going the right direction. Just hit enter. This window will pop up and we get to give it a name. So the name of this alignment will be called Main Street. The type is just going to put your alignment into a category. So we'll put in the centerline category. The start station at the south end will be 0. That's fine. The site is actually not too important for alignments, so I'm not going to worry about the site. I'll keep it at none. Alignment style, I'll use proposed. Alignment layer, there's a default here. So most Civil 3D objects are going to have a default layer. If for some reason you don't want to use that default, there is a button for layers on the right side. And you have an option to use this button to browse all the layers you have or create a new layer. You also have an option to add a modifier. So let's say I want this to be on C Road Main Street. I can add a prefix or a suffix. So I would add a suffix. Here in the modifier, I can do dash Main Street. And then this is what it would look like, C Road dash Main Street. That way, when I create the Court Street alignment, I can put it on C Road dash Court Street. And then maybe they can be on separate layers. But that's optional. You don't actually have to do this if you don't want to. I'm just showing you that is something that can be done for your layers. So I'll just cancel. I'll leave it on C Road. Alignment has labels set that comes along with it. Let's pick major and minor only. And if we only had straight lines drawn, you could tell it to add curves between the lines, and you can tell the radius of the curve. So I don't need it to add curves. I already have curves. Let's uncheck that. Questions on this window? Click OK. All right, my scale is way too big. Let me change that. Okay, so I'm going to use 60 scale. Now, if you look at the center line of the road, it has a green alignment and it has station labels. So before I let you work on Court Street, I'm going to just go over a few things on Main Street. So zoom into the south end of the road. Notice how the alignment starts at 0 plus 0, 0. So let's say I don't want to start at 0, just in case I add additional road on this end. I don't want to end up with negative numbers. Let's start at 1 plus 0, 0. So that is not a style thing. That is a properties thing because we're changing values along the alignment. So click on the green alignment, right click, open the alignment properties. In the alignment properties window, we have a station control tab and a reference point. The reference point, X, Y coordinates, refer to this location. The station also refers to this location. So I want to change the station. Sometimes it likes the plus, sometimes it doesn't like the plus. So I'm not going to use it. I'm just going to type 100. 100 is going to end up as 1 plus 0, 0. Click OK. Warning is fine. It just means if we have anything that relies on this, like a profile, a corridor, pipe networks, all of them are going to change. All the values are going to change. That's all this is. So just click OK and OK again. All right, so now that has updated. This is 1 plus 0, 0. Okay, let's zoom into the intersection of Main Street and Court Street. So let's say I don't care about the station value at the south end. I am more concerned about this intersection. I want the intersection to have a nice whole number at that station, at that intersection right there. So let's again select the alignment, right click, open alignment properties. So in that station control tab, remember this X and Y coordinate, this reference point refers to the south end. So I want to move that reference point. I'm going to use this button right here on the right. Warning's fine. I'm going to use a red line that follows my cursor, and I'm going to snap it either with an endpoint snap or an intersection snap right at that intersection of the two center lines. Okay, once you click at that location, these XY coordinates update. It's hard to tell that it happened, but they did update. And now we get to put in a station value. I want it to be 20 plus 0, 0. So here I'll type 2000. All right, click OK. So everything has shifted. This is the new reference point. So if any of the geometry changes at the south or at the north of that point, all the station values will just adjust accordingly. This will remain 20 plus 0, 0. CAD Masters offers online and classroom training for a variety of Autodesk software. For more information, go to www.cadmasters.com or give us a call at 925-939-1378. Okay. Let's go to the north end. So at the north end, you'll see we have 27 plus 0, 0 at this tick mark. And then we have the last station value at that tick mark. They're really close to each other, so it's difficult to read that. Click on the last station, click the grip at the tick mark, and pull it out so you can see it with a leader. So all these stations have that ability that you can pull them out if you need to. All right, let's click on that last station again. Anytime you click on these labels, you're going to get some buttons in the ribbon. And I mentioned yesterday, the Edit Label Text button can create an override. So this will allow me to override just a single label at a time. So let's try Edit Label Text. Click on this label. It opens up the window with the original code in there. But what I want to do is in front of the code, I want to put the word, or two words, end station. So I'm just using END space STA space. So in front of that number, in front of that code will be end station. I'll click OK. And so it's only overridden that one label, not all the others. There's a few more buttons I'll point out. We have, this is to clear the override. Clear label text is to clear the override. We have flip label. So let's say this 27 plus 0, 0 is on top of a manhole. I want to move it to the other side. I can select it, use flip label, and then it flips it to the other side. So flip label. Reverse label, I don't think it actually does anything in this case. The other one I want to show you is edit label group. This will affect the style for the entire alignment. So edit label group is here. There's also a right click, edit alignment labels. Edit label group is the same. Okay, so I'm going to click on one of them. That opens up this window. And early on, when we first created the alignment, we chose a label set. The label set includes 3 different label styles. So there is a style at the major stations that has a parallel number with a tick mark. That's every 100 feet. At the minor stations, it only has a tick mark, and that's every 50 feet. And then it has this profile geometry points thing that's actually not being used. Let me see something. Yeah, I don't know. That's not actually being used because geometry points are beginning of curve, end of curve, things like that. And I don't see labels at those locations. So if I don't want to have this in here, there is an X at the top to get rid of that label style. So it removes that one that I didn't actually need. If I want to get it back, I could go up here and say I want at geometry points a label style called parallel with tick, and then I can click the add button. When I click the add button, because it's geometry points, I get to decide where the labels show up. I'll just keep all of them and click OK. So it's adding labels at those geometry points. If you need to edit a style, these little buttons here will let you edit these styles. And then if you create some kind of label set that you like and you want to use again in the future, you can save this label set. So then in the future, if you want to select that label set, you can go here, import label set. And this is where we originally were able to pick major, minor only. And so that resets with the label set that we wanted. So I'm just going to cancel that. So we have our alignment with labels for Main Street. I want you to take a few minutes to create the alignment along Court Street. So you're just using create alignment from objects, but I want you to make sure that the left side has station 1 plus 0, 0, and then increases to the right. When you finish, you can chat done. So this is called Court Street. All right, so now we have our 2 alignments. This is all we need for the project. Make sure you save it. But an additional lesson I'm going to give you is how to create alignments from scratch. CAD Masters offers online and classroom training for a variety of Autodesk software. For more information, go to www.cadmasters.com or give us a call at 925-939-1378. So instead of taking a polyline and converting it, how do we just draw it with alignment creation tools? So when you use alignment creation tools, there are different curve types. A fixed curve is when you click to start and you click to end, and it's not tangent to anything. A floating curve is when you are tangent at the beginning, you're tangent to some line or curve at the beginning, and then you click anywhere you want at the end. So it's only tangent on one side. A free curve is where you already have either 2 lines, 2 curves, something, and you want that curve that you make right now to be tangent on both ends, right? So free means tangent on both ends. Okay, so I'm going to put this over to the side so we can just have it as a reference. And what we'll do is save this, but open a different file. So we're going to go to open, back up a folder. In the Civil 3D intro folder, there is a folder called My Examples. And in there, we have a drawing called Alignment Problems. So open Alignment Problems. And then again, if you get that message, convert VBA is fine. Okay, so there are 4 different problems or practice examples in here. Before I get to those, over on the side, we're going to create an alignment together from scratch. And then I'll go over problem number 1, and I'll have you guys work on 2, 3, and 4 on your own. Okay, so to get started, let's be here on this empty space. Go to Home tab, alignment creation tools. For the name, let's just call this practice alignment. Center line is fine. Station 0 is fine. The layer and the style are fine. Let's use the label set major and minor only. So we'll click OK. And then this toolbar that we saw earlier when I was talking about Geometry Editor, the same toolbar pops up, right? So from this toolbar, there's a bunch of buttons here. I'm going to walk through what they are, and then I'll have us start creating the alignment after that. So the first button has a drop down. It allows you to create tangent, no curves. So that means you're just drawing lines that are connected at the endpoints. Tangent with curves, you draw the lines, and at every corner, it curves it at a specific radius. So you can specify the radius in the curve and spiral settings. This is to add a PI or a vertex. This is to delete a PI or a vertex, vertice. This is to break apart, add a PI. This allows you to draw line segments, and it has the same vocabulary. It has fixed lines, floating lines, and free lines. So this is not tangent, tangent on one side, and tangent on both sides. Here's the curves, fixed, floating, and free. These three buttons, 1, 2, 3, are spiral buttons. So spirals are mostly used for railroad design, not for road design. It's a curve that has a varying radius. So it might start with a tighter radius and end with a larger radius. So we won't use those in class. This allows you to convert an AutoCAD line into an alignment segment. A line or arc can be converted into an alignment segment. This one I showed you earlier is to reverse the direction of your alignment. So it's important when you create either lines or curves that you click from the lower station side to the higher station side. If you go the other direction, it's not going to connect properly, and then you'll probably have to use this to reverse that direction. You can delete a piece if you messed up. And I'll skip over to this one. This green dot, if you're in an older version, it could look more like that button, but this one is called Alignment Grid View. And this opens up a table of information. It tells you the length of the line, the radius of the curve, the station values, etc. And you can actually edit those values in that table. So let's start by drawing two lines. We'll use tangent, no curves. I'm going to start kind of lower left, go towards upper right, back down, lower right, and then I'll hit enter. Okay. Once you hit enter, you should see station values show up. If you want it bigger, you can pick a bigger scale. Next, I want to draw a curve between these two lines. I'll use the curve dropdown. I want my curve to be tangent on both sides. So that would be a free curve. This first option is asking for a radius. I don't really have a radius that I need to use. So I'll go to the second one. Second one says between two entities and a through point. So through point is going to allow me to just click to place that radius. So I'll use this second free curve. Command line says to select the first entity. Remember, you want to pick the side with the smaller numbers first, and then the side with the larger numbers second. Then if you move your cursor and you see this circle with the X's, that means you've gone too far. So you want to stay up here where you can actually see the curve and then click. When you hit enter, it should adjust the stationing so it's only along the green alignment. This gray line is an extension line. That triangle is a PI point. So surveyors might need this location to build that alignment. But if you don't want to see it, I'll show you in a minute how to turn that off. It's just a part of the style. Okay. So here at the end, let's create another curve. I need it to be tangent to this line, but at the end, it's not going to be tangent to anything. So that will be floating. Tangent on one side is floating. The first floating option requires a radius. Again, I don't have a radius. So let's go to the second one, more floating curves. That first one just asks for a through point. So that's good. I'm going to use that first floating option. Okay, I don't need to snap exactly to the endpoint. I just need to select the line on this side. So I'm going to click the line. Now I can place the end of the curve wherever I like and hit enter to finish. Okay. So to turn off this extension lines and that PI point, select the alignment, the green alignment, right click, and let's go to edit alignment style. In the style window, there's a bunch of tabs. Let's go to the display tab. On the display tab, we're in the plan view and we'll see the line extensions are on. You could turn that off, and curve extensions are on. We'll turn that off. So it's the two gray ones. After that, go to the markers tab. On the markers tab at the very top, the point of intersection is using a marker style called PI point. So I don't want to show the little triangle. I'm going to click PI point. On the right side, there's a little symbol. So if you click the symbol, it'll open up this little window. Instead of PI point, the drop down, I can pick either none or no markers. I don't know if there's actual difference. I'll pick no marker. And then click OK. OK again. And so that disappears. CAD Masters offers online and classroom training for a variety of Autodesk software. For more information, go to www.cadmasters.com or give us a call at 925-939-1378. All right, so that's it for that first one. In the toolbar, it's always important to take a look at what it says. So this is alignment layout tools, and then it says practice alignment. So practice alignment is the name of this alignment. This toolbar will not work for these other alignments unless you select the alignment first. So problem number one, I would select the alignment and notice how it switches to say problem one. Right. So you always want to select the alignment first. Make sure the toolbar says the correct alignment name before you use the buttons. Otherwise, it just won't work. Another option, if you close the toolbar and you need a toolbar for problem number one, you can select the alignment, the green line. Up in the ribbon, you're using Geometry Editor. Or in the right click, it's called Edit Alignment Geometry. So select the alignment first, look for a button. So go ahead and open that geometry editor for problem number one. And then we'll do this one together. Then I'll have you guys work on the others independently. Problem number one, calculate horizontal alignment using 200-foot radius reversing curves. So when it says calculate, it just means draw. And when it says reversing curves, it means one curve is going to come out from here and go downwards. Then a second curve will start from the middle and curve upwards. So one's going down, one's going up. It's kind of like a S shape right in here. If it said compound curves, that means both curves are going in the same direction. They're both going down or they're both going up. So reversing, we have like that S shape. In the chat, let me give you a snap. Some people know this and some people don't. M2P is a snap called mid between 2 points. And it helps you find the middle when there's no actual object. Like if I wanted to find the middle of this line, I would use a midpoint snap. But if I want to find the middle in between two objects, it's the empty space here, I can use M2P. I can select this as my first point, this as my second point, and it will figure out the middle. So that's what we're going to have to use for this one. Let's start up in this toolbar. I need a curve that is tangent on the left, but ends right in the middle. So that would be a floating curve. I do have a radius, so I can pick that first option. Okay, once you select the button, it says select entity to attach to. I want to attach to this line. And it says to specify the radius, it is 200. And then you have this question, is it greater than or less than 180? So imagine 180 degrees is a U-turn. In this case, I'm not making a U-turn, so this will be less than 180. You'll see that attached to your cursor. And now I need to find that middle. So to find that middle, you could use Shift right click and pick mid between 2 points. That's an option. Or another option is in the command line. I need to undo that. Start over. Okay, so in the command line, you can also type M2P, enter. It's going to ask you for the first point of mid. I will use the endpoint snap right there. Then it'll ask for a second point of mid. I'll use an endpoint snap right here. And it automatically finds that middle. Then we'll just hit enter to finish that. Once you have the first curve going downwards, we need a second curve going upwards. This second curve is going to be tangent on both sides. So tangent on both sides will be free. I do have a radius, so I can use a first free curve. I'll pick the curve on the left, the line on the right. It's less than 180. It's reverse. And it's 200-foot radius. Enter twice to finish that. CAD Masters offers online and classroom training for a variety of Autodesk software. For more information, go to www.cadmasters.com or give us a call at 925-939-1378.